She looked like she had her on. Mrs. Ship, may I have, when we have roll call, please, for attendance? Okay. Board Member Ovalle,
Present.
Board Member Edmiston,
Present.
Board Member Graham,
Present.
President Trujillo. Present. Thank you. With quorum present, I'm calling this meeting to order at 5:03 p.m. And we'll begin with our land acknowledgement. In partnership with the tribes who called Phoenix their home first, we acknowledge and respect the land our schools are built on. We commit to being a strong partner with any and all tribal nations who entrust their children to our schools. We are grateful and honored to be partners. Next, please feel welcome to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Our next item is the adoption of the agenda, item A3. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye, all opposed say no. Aye.
Aye.
With that, we will move on to our first item of business, item B1. At this time, we will proceed with the annual organization of the governing board in accordance with Arizona law and district policy. Nominations are now open for the position of board president. Do we have a nomination? Hearing none, I would like to offer to nominate myself. Being the longest standing board member for the time being, I would be honored to lead us into this next year and get everyone on board to lead in the future. And I would be willing to continue the role and believe I have the capacity to do so. And I'm open to any questions, should you have any, about my ability to do so. Hearing none, are there any other nominations? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Erica Ovalle, and I nominate myself.
All right. Well, we would need a second for both nominations, so I believe we could start with the first one. All right. Do we have? Perfect. Do we have a second for the first nomination?
Second.
Thank you. May we have a roll call vote? Board Member Ovalle?
I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
This is the nomination for President Trujillo.
No, I nominate myself. I don't know if that's what you're asking.
We're doing the vote right now, so we would do one vote for her and then one vote for you. This is the
Okay,
first,
sounds good.
so this is the first vote.
But before we
Okay.
can, we need to get if we have two slates, we have to get a motion and a second on the other candidate as well. So if there's a second for Board Member Ovalle's nomination of herself, we need to get that. Second. A second.
Mrs. Sanchez, so how does that work with both having?
proceed with a vote on the first motion and second, which was for the nomination and second for President Trujillo to serve as the board president. We'll see if that motion passes or fails, and then if it fails, we'd go on to the next.
Okay, got it. So with that, we can do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Board Member Edmiston,
Point of inquiry. So we're voting on,
So right now, the vote is for the nomination and second for President Trujillo. So then if you agreed, you would vote yes. If you disagreed, you would vote no. And then we'll see how this motion comes out and then proceed with the next motion. And if that one, we'll see how we go. If that one fails, then we'd need to have a discussion and do this until we have a result.
okay. And a second point of inquiry, since we do have two candidates, do we have the ability to have further discussion about their nominations?
You can have discussion. There was a motion and a second, so you can go ahead and have discussion if you would like.
Okay, I think it would be helpful, probably for all of us to discuss, maybe like visions for, what happens over the next year. Is that?
And in that case, it could be appropriate for both candidates to explain their vision. So we could hear from both candidates right now.
Thank you. So right now, we're at the point where we're opening discussion out for both nominations. So to share my vision, my goal would be to carry out the rest of the governing board schedule with the work study sessions and retreats that we've got scheduled, and just make sure some proper onboarding is done. And I'd like to bring in a consultant to be able to do that, so that way there's mentorship for all the board members, actually. And that's something that actually I was having a conversation about today. So I don't have all of it figured out yet, but I do believe that it can be difficult sometimes for relationships on the board to be able to get vulnerable and ask questions and things like that. So I felt like a neutral third party would be in our best interest to have as another person to ask questions of, and just really stay structured and carry out all of our visions for the district. So the consultant would also kind of lead us in that facilitating role where we could share all of our information and then have that gathered, brought back, so we can create a vision as a board together, now that we are all working together collaboratively. So that's what I've got so far.
Thank you. And point of inquiry, procedurally, does Board Member Ovalle now need to speak, or will there be the opportunity for us to ask questions of the nominees?
I think in fairness, before you vote on President Trujillo, it would be appropriate to let Board Member Ovalle speak too with her
Okay, so
vision.
she
Yeah,
should
she
speak.
can speak.
And will we have opportunities to ask questions?
You can ask questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Your question was, I'm sorry, what do we bring to the vision? Okay, so I've thought about this. I'm the only board member with a small child in the district. My son has an IEP and he goes to the least resource school. As far as the district, I relate to them, the families that we serve, being low income, living in affordable housing. I feel like I can really address a lot of the needs and the wants the kids and the families need in our district. I'm constantly having to advocate for the kids that are left behind. And on a personal level, I work with incarcerated youth, and I feel like a lot of times I know what these kids and families need because I relate to the issues as well. Now, as far as the vision of for the board, it would be to really just put families number one first in everything. I feel like that's something that really lacks right now, and it's kind of disappointing to me, to be 100% honest. And I never really saw myself being a president, but I think we're ready for something new. And, you know, the past was kind of a little messy, and so I really look forward to hopefully serving for families, and not only that, but staff. When I'm out and about walking around, sometimes teachers from my own son's school pull me aside and they talk to me about issues that are happening. So if I could really just help fill in the gap for that, I would love to. But if I were president, I would love to have a supporting vice president that would walk with me, and, you know, just hopefully people be patient because I'm going to be learning new skills. So that's what all I have to say. Thank you.
And point and query, this would be the time for us to ask questions of both both nominees if we have them. One question that I have, just to understand and clarify, in the past, was the position of the president on this particular board, was it rotating?
The vice president role was rotating at one
So,
point.
so state law requires that the governing board meet annually to do an organizational meeting. State law requires that you elect a board president. And then in all of the education statutes, there's a lot of things, and in your policies, there's a lot of authority and duties that are the responsibility of the board president. Things like agenda preparation, a lot of things having to do with the governance of the board meetings themselves. And then your policy has added an additional officer position, a vice president. In your board policies, that vice president is the person who takes over in the event of an absence for the board president. And so the positions don't really rotate, but you vote on the positions annually.
Yeah, and just to follow up, it's been the same two people for quite a bit.
But just wanted to clear up that the role did used to rotate based on the person's last name as far as the vice president role. But until I became president, we didn't rotate in board members to participate in agenda prep to kind of really see how the role goes. And that's what I would like to do this year, is be able to start rotating in each board member so that we all know how to set an agenda with Dr. Gonzalez, know how the vouchers system goes, the expense vouchers, my apologies, to get those approved. Same with payroll vouchers. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and that's really part of my vision, that I would like to see all of us know how to do those things. So we're all well equipped to be able to serve in this role and feel confident in it. So yes, the role did used to rotate, but that was a really long time ago.
I have an additional question for staff. To the extent the vice president role is ad hoc, or at least not statutory, is that need necessarily be an annual position? Or is there an opportunity that if there was a desire by the board to take a vote, that could be rotated on a biannual basis, or, you know, every half year or something like that?
Sure. So the statutorily required position is the president. Your board policy talks about the vice president. And then your policy says that the vice president serves a one-year term. So you do have discretion to change your policy. You couldn't change it tonight because you also have policies about policy review and revision. But that is something in the future. You could do something a little bit more creative or have a shorter term. So the idea of the vice president is just to have somebody, yeah, who's trained and to take over in the event of the absence of the president.
I'm not too sure when the policy changed, when that went into effect, but it was, I believe, 2 boards ago.
Your current policy was adopted in 2021. So it looks like that's when it might have changed.
And just to follow up on that, in the interest of having like a resilient board where, if somebody gets sick or something happens, any of us can easily jump into that position and things run smoothly. Is that something that we could look at changing as far as having a rotating vice chair?
You could look at having a rotating vice chair, or some districts have, in addition to a president and vice president, they have either a clerk or a secretary position. So you could add an officer position, but you could also, all of you, be continuously trained in the duties. If there were 5 of you, and then let's say the board president and the vice president were both absent, the 3 of you would have to elect a temporary president according to your policies to run the meeting. So, but you could, you can be fairly creative, not tonight, but you could look at a policy revision that allows for just the training and the development of all of the board members so that there's those opportunities. And you could look at adding a secretary clerk position if you wanted to as well.
I would be open to that, completing our decisions and our agenda this evening and then having that conversation of what that looks like to adopt in the near future. With that, would we be ready to move to a vote? Or would we just take a few minutes?
And just another point of inquiry, so we're gonna vote on each one, first one, and then,
You'll start with the first motion. So there was a motion and a second for President Trujillo to continue in the role. We'll see how that vote comes out. And then if that motion fails, then we'd go on to the next nomination, which was for Board Member Ovalle.
And just to share the information, I would be, whatever happens this evening, I will help be supportive in the transition of any changes, so that way everything goes smoothly and, you'd have support from me.
I mean, I guess likewise, whatever happens, we're a team and I really appreciate working with everybody and, just continue uplifting the work that we do for the sake of the families and the children.
So the first vote is for President Trujillo.
Board Member Ovalle,
Nay?
Board Member Edmiston,
may I pass for now?
Board Member Graham,
I know we have some time pressure, but I just out of respect for the 2 members who have put their names forward and for the community members here, just wanted to quickly say I am very appreciative for both of you for offering to serve in that capacity and very respectful, in particular, Board Member Ovalle, for your position and the advocacy work you're bringing here. I will say, from my perspective, I know there are a lot of things this year that are going to be important topics of work, challenging and going to occupy a lot of attention of all the board members. And I look forward to working with you all in that capacity. I would like to explore adding a 3rd role. I think that that's a best practice with a 5-person board to have 3 like capable officers. And for one of the parties here who may not enter the president role, like to explore that role. It's probably not something I'm interested in at that point, so that would be open. But I'd like to say, with all that in mind, given purely the tenure and the stability that I'm looking for over this next year as we look to attack these items, I would be voting yes for Board Member Trujillo.
President Trujillo,
Aye.
My turn. So this is actually very hard for me. and part of that is the short timeline that we had to really think about this. But I also second, that I really appreciate all the board members, and everybody has been so wonderful to work with. And um, I'm going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to vote no, because I do feel like on a instinctive level that I think we need a little bit of a change in the structure, given a lot of things that have happened. And this wasn't something that I foresaw, but I have to make a decision, and that is my vote.
To see if it failed or not. And
So we'll move on to our second nomination.
I have to look, I'm sorry, I have to look up your policy about voting to see if 2 of 4 is a pass or a, apologies. I think it's a, I think it's. Fail vote. Yeah. I don't know. Being on for next.
Sorry, we'll move on to the second nomination vote.
Do we have a motion?
Sorry, we had a nomination, but we did have a second for it, so we'll move on to a roll call vote for Board Member Ovalle.
Okay. Board Member Ovalle,
Yes.
yes.
Board Member Edmiston,
Pass.
Board Member Graham,
I think given the structure of what we have and Board Member Ovaille's offer to serve in this role, at this point, it's going to be yes.
President Trujillo,
I'm a no, but I'd like to explain my vote. It's really important to me personally to be here all the time, how am I gonna say this in a way that conveys exactly what I'm thinking, but it's a lot of responsibility, and I look forward to just being helpful however I can, but I believe my no vote is because I believe the participation that I would bring just outweighs my worries of of not having not quorum, but like not being able to proceed with our meetings and our schedules as voted on already. So with that, my vote is a no.
May I explain my vote? I I think that again, just kind of how things have developed this year, that it is really important to have more diffuse leadership on this board. And that is the main thing that is motivating my decision tonight. And I'm going to vote yes. And I hope that we can structure the board in a way that we all have more responsibilities so that it's not disproportionately falling on the president or the vice president. And that will be willing to work with everybody so that we can make sure that we can all take on more responsibility and more delegated roles. So I vote yes.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations?
Yeah, the board president.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to close them out officially. So with that, congratulations, Board President Ovaya. We can rearrange seats or we could move on. You could carry on from there. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the nominations for Vice President. So would you like to take over from here?
Do you want to take over running the meeting?
You're running the meeting.
I could stay here, it's fine.
Running the meeting, sure. Or actually, you could close it out. I mean, we're almost done. Okay, so then next, we're gonna do our roll call for our vice president. Would anybody like to nominate anybody for vice president?
I would. This is something I had previously anticipated doing, but I would like to nominate Board Member Edmiston.
I second that.
Board Member Trujillo,
Aye.
Board Member Edmiston, Board Member Graham,
Yes.
President Ovalle,
Aye.
May I explain my vote, please? I did not foresee that happening. So I thank you for nominating me. And I guess there will be more nominations, so thank you.
Get the heads of the vote, sorry. What, was there? Do you accept the nomination? Let me just ask with that.
I will accept the
Okay.
nomination.
And then, we're kind of already voted on it, but were there any other, were there going to be any other nominations for vice president? Okay, then I think you already did your roll call vote, and so congratulations.
Awesome, congratulations. Okay, so we can move on to our next agenda item, which is adjournment. So at 5:30, I would like to adjourn this meeting. Thank everybody for coming and participating in our monthly meeting, our board meeting. Thank you.
I'm gonna hop in really quick. I move that we adjourn the meeting at 5:30 PM. Do we have a second?
I
Second.
second.
Board Member Trujillo,
Aye.
Board Member Edmiston,
Aye.
Board Member Graham,
Hi.
President Ovalle,
Aye. The motion passes.